And welcome back, everyone. Are judges influenced by cash when it comes to their rulings? Now, I'm not talking about the yellow envelope under the table, but the question is, when it comes to electing judges, and obviously the campaign funds, as we all know, that are a big part of our political process, how much does that actually implicate the decision one way or the other? And the answer to my question is yes, if you believe a poll that came out in 2013 by the Brennan Center for Justice. Poll found that 87% of those surveyed believed that campaign donations and spending by independent groups impacted judges' rulings. Now, research showed that campaign donations and support from businesses who dished out the most cash did in fact sway the rulings in a number of cases. All right, let's bring in our panel here. Jimmy Kasuris, he's a criminal defense attorney in Manhattan, lecturing at New York Law School and a visiting professor at the University of Birmingham in England. Doug Von Oist, founding partner of Carson Von Oist, focusing on corporate misconduct, and selected by the Legal 500 as one of the most influential trial lawyers in the country, back from LA. Tammy Robbins, she is now a partner at Gersman and Schwartz and Melito. Thank you, close enough. And she served as a judge for the last 10 years. You can guess who I'm going to be asking questions to this segment. And Mayo Bartlett, attorney, former chief of the Bias Crimes Unit at the Westchester County DA's office. All right, Your Honor, let me ask you. The idea of electing instead of appointing judges, is it good or bad for the justice system? I can make the argument that the public gets to have their voice heard to somebody that's representative of their community. But as we all know, campaign donations aren't always in $10 increments by the local neighbor. We get businesses involved, especially with recent rulings.
Well, two issues. The one is the financial issue. Now, the judicial ethics canons bar any judicial candidate from knowing who contributes to their campaign. So as a judge or a judicial candidate, when I was running for re-election, I didn't know who gave me money and how much money they gave me. Now, it flies a little bit in the face of logic because the judicial races are very costly and they require many fundraisers, of which I had.
And also public disclosure. Everybody knows who gives money. That's part of the drill.
Right. Well, we don't know, though. But we go to our own fundraisers, and there are our people. So, you know, when I worked in the criminal world in Nassau County, so it's a small, you know, community, and many times same people at my fundraiser, they were my supporters, the people I saw every day. So, I mean, it's hard to say that if someone supports you in your campaign, that when they walk in your courtroom, you're not going to give them, you know, maybe a little bit of a closer time up to the beginning of the court day. But I can't say that any of my supporters got any different treatment, just appreciation.
But you can see how it can happen, can't you?
Absolutely.
And imagine you're in a West Virginia town, Mayo, right? And you're running for judge there or whatever the title is, and the biggest mining company, who they decide to back in the race is going to go a long way to see who's going to win. And what do you think when there's going to be claims filed against the mining company, whatever the case may be? And I can find a million other examples. But on the flip side, should we be appointing our judges? What's the answer?
Well, I think that you run the chance of having impropriety both ways. Because when you appoint the judges, you end up with people being appointed sometimes based on ideology. And the interesting thing about that is that when judges run for election, they can't comment actually in New York State on their political views. They can tell you basic things, you know, that they would be fair, things like that. But they can't tell you they're pro-abortion or anti-abortion. They can't tell you their feelings about guns. So for me to be a gun lobbyist and support a judge, sort of
I hear the same argument for Supreme Court appointees.
Absolutely.
You know who's going to be on which side of the issue.
Absolutely.
I mean, you know who's conservative and progressive.
Well, it shouldn't be one or the other. I mean, isn't the issue more, you know, can't we limit the effect that money has on elections? I think that our judges should be elected. I think people should decide who they want wearing the robes. The issue is, you know, how can we stop the wealthier donors from having that impact because we allow them to donate so much. So I think it's the campaign finance laws that need to be addressed.
And by the way, you guys, you know, from working as you did as ADAs, everybody here at the table, you know, Doug, this extends to district attorneys too. I mean, yes, we think of the person in the robe in the court, but the most influential person in the county, whatever it is the district attorney, and there's obviously electoral politics, who's going to support who, and then some of the inherent assumptions that who's going to get maybe preferential treatment or where enforcement will or won't be focused. you know,
well, listen,
comes out of a campaign.
It would be nice to think that people give money because they want the best person in the job.
They like
But the reality is probably people give money also to make sure that they're recognized as a supporter of the person who eventually gets in office. That's the reality. The bigger question is whether the money that's being given to these people is affecting their judgment. That's really the big
One more question about money.
And also a bigger question is that the people, when you run for judge, when you go into the voting booth, most people who go in to vote are not coming to vote for you if you're running for a judge, unless the people that you're related to or the people that love you. So you are really, as a judge, you are running for election, but you are not elected by people, the majority of people who know anything about the judges. They vote for you by your name.
Party line or
party line. So you are along with the tide of the election. You win with it, you lose with it, you get what you get.
So Rich talking about the smaller areas is probably where it more predominantly happens.
Question on judicial pay. I taken the position, you know, that elected officials, certainly in the state of New York, in the state legislature, and it's an unpopular one, if you pay them more, then you can make the argument that they shouldn't have second jobs. As it relates to judges, truthfully, how many good people have left the bench because the pay doesn't, I mean, there's such a gap between the private sector and being a judge after a while that some of the best and brightest that would like to stay as judges don't because the math just doesn't add up.
Well, this isn't going to be a popular opinion with my former colleagues on the bench. But I really, listen, no one goes into public service because they want to make money. You become a judge, you become a government official because it's something you believe in and it's how you want to spend your years as a professional. So no one becomes a judge because they want to make money. I personally think the judicial pay, which the judges just got a raise the last few years I was on the bench after many years of not having one. So those were very, very well-deserved cost of living increases. However, as far as most people in America make money, the judicial pay for the amount of hours, you have a lot of government holidays, you work hard when you're there, but compared to these guys in the private sector and what they make, they earn every dollar. And I think the judges, listen,
when's the last time you ever heard a judge say something nuts about the three?
I told you, I can't wait.
No, I'm saying, listen, I've been in private practice for 2 weeks. It's really hard.
You first know them before you say that. That's all I'm saying. All right, go over to Facebook and Twitter and sound off on our question today. Should judges be elected or appointed? Now, coming up next here, new lawsuit being filed in a tragedy that shocked the country. Sandy Hook parents, they're seeking damages from the school system as well as the town. How will their argument hold up in court? We'll talk about that when we come back.